Okay, welcome back guys. We're going into the first stage of our food production requirements, which is with everything that you do in the kitchen, you always have to make sure that your mise en place is ready for the day, which means you have to know what you're doing for that day. Have you checked the roster? Have you checked who's working with you? Do you know what you need to do in the morning? Do you know what to do in the afternoon? Do you know what time the customers are coming in? Are you preparing for 50? Are you preparing for 500? Or are you preparing for 1,000? Is the mise en place required to have a deadline, for example? Is everything happening today? Or are you possibly doing some preparation for tomorrow and the next day? All these things we find from our either standard recipes, so we know what we need to cook. We also check our dietary requirements, what our customers need from our function sheets, for example, just so you know and have an idea of what your plan is for the day, and also how you can work best with your team. Which means if you have a food production requirement, or your mise en place or your workflow plan, you can then share your workload with appropriate team members. You know what to do, your friends know what to do, your colleagues know what to do, the kitchen hand knows what to do, all the way from the head chef all the way to the kitchen hand. Everybody has their own tasks ready to go, not a lot of questions asked. You can share the information way early in the day and everybody can do their jobs efficiently throughout the day. And all the produce is prepared properly, received properly, and every day your days become more efficient. So one of the part of your food production requirement is obviously to receive goods. Now, with stock soups and sauces, your ingredients include a variety of things from bones to farinaceous products to dairy products, eggs, meat products, various vegetable products. So how do you know what to check? So obviously when you get yourself and receive a carrot or an onion or a celery or your bones, you need to make sure that the product is at optimal conditions. So your onions might need to be firm. There's no molds showing. You feel it and it feels firm and it doesn't look like it's slimy or moldy. It doesn't smell like it's just about to deteriorate. Your carrots, for example, is nice and firm. It's not limp. It looks like it can be received in good condition. You check with your suppliers what's in season, for example. You make sure that the ingredients that you receive also on the day matches what you need. So aside from freshness that we receive on the day and checking of whatever we receive on the day during delivery, we also need to make sure that we follow FIFO. So this means if I receive a box of carrots today, I would put away the carrots but make sure that the old carrots from yesterday or the one from 2 days ago or from last week is rotated to the front of the new carrots. So this way, regardless if you don't say it to anyone, the next person will definitely use the one in the front first. Or you put some labels on it, such as if you made soup today, you label it for today's date. You make sure you label what soup it is, either minestrone or chowder or chicken soup, or whatever it is. Then you put it into your packaging after you pull it down properly to make sure that the temperature is outside of the danger zone. Then you put the new soup behind the old soup. You do this, it does seem every now and again tedious jobs, but all these little things to make sure that your operation is as efficient as possible is required, because the next person expects you to do what everybody else is supposed to do. Everybody expects the FIFO to be done, everybody expects the labelling to be done, so this means there's no more second guessing. If everybody follows the exact procedures, when they follow their food production requirements all the way to selecting ingredients, and getting all their rotation done properly, from weighing to measuring to calculating, then we don't have any issues within our workflow plan. We don't have your colleagues coming into the afternoon shift after you finish your morning shift, for example, and not finding what they're expecting to find. You have received that the products are fresh and are at good condition, at the right quantities. You have prepared your mise en place at the right methods of preparation, such as you've cut the brunoise the way the brunoise is supposed to be cut. You've cut your julienne the way it's supposed to be cut. You have weighed out the quantities required for your next recipe that might be continued all the way to the afternoons at the correct amount that is required for the day's operation. So the next person taking over after you does not have the difficulty of trying to find the things and trying to remeasure everything, because there's a trust between the team members to make sure that everything is done the way it's supposed to be. And we only know this by following the correct workflow plan, communicating between each other, everybody basically following the same standard operating procedure. Other than that, we also obviously have to make sure that we follow what we have learned from the previous unit, which is your kitchen hygiene. This means from making sure that your bench is nice and clean before you do your work, making sure that your chopping boards are nice and clean and sanitized through the dishwasher, killing all those bacteria, making sure that your knife that you're using is at good condition, nice and sharp, so you don't cut your fingers off. That you can cut all those precision cuts with very nice flow. Like you don't have difficulties in cutting your tomatoes, or you don't have difficulties in cutting your carrots. That you have made sure that your food processor that you're about to use is in good condition and clean, and you always check, even though you assume that the other person has cleaned it, and they should, but you always check to make sure that is a double check. There's no things stuck to it. There's no food from last week stuck to it. I've made the same mistakes, but we all need to take that extra precautionary measures to always continuously improve. This also means that you have to use the correct equipment, meaning if you are making a soup that is only 5 liters, maybe you use that size of a stick blender. If you were using if you were making a soup that was possibly 20 to 50 liters, which is a very big pot, you will be using a very large stick blender. Meaning, if you have a very large stick blender and you put it in a small bucket, chances are it's too much RPM, which means all your soups are going to go everywhere. Yes, you're probably going to create more faster result from the very strong stick blender, but chances are the soup is also going to spill over. At the same time, if you are using a small stick blender for a big pot of soup that you need to blend, then it's not strong enough, or it will take you forever to do it. And the right tools for the right equipment, which means what size pot, what size gastronome, making sure that you're using the correct baking oven, making sure that if you're roasting bones, for example, for your ground stock, you'll probably be using an oven that creates dry heat and not a combi oven that creates partial steam, which will make your stock not brown properly. So it's about knowing your equipment also. It's about knowing your manuals and operating procedures. It's about reading and asking to your supervisors if you are unsure. Always checking, always learning, always asking the right questions. There's never a bad time to ask a good question. We're always continuous learning. Okay, so the next one we'll be going is prepare ingredients, and also talking about discussing different kinds of stocks, bases, and sources. So I'll see you in the next clip.